You know, I was hated. I was literally hated by my mother and my father. They were both narcissists. And the one thing narcissists hate the most is when the attention leaves them. Narcissists want the attention on them at all times. And when it's not, they get very pissy. They want to go home. They want whatever event is going on to be shut down. Uh, they're done. Once the conversation turns away from them, they're done with the conversation. If you're on the phone with one and you get done talking about them, which might take a while, they have no interest in talking about you and your problems or yours, and definitely not your happiness or your success. They definitely don't want to talk about that. They like talking about your problems, but as long as it elevates them above you. Now, my mother hated me since I was born because when you're a parent or you become a parent, and I was the firstborn, so I was her first child, and I don't know that she realized it, and I wouldn't be surprised she didn't realize that when you become a parent, at the minute of the birth, you become a second class citizen, and the child becomes the first class citizen. When you pop the baby out, what do? They take the baby and they run away with it, and they take care of it. They make sure everything's all the vitals, everything is done that has to be done to a newborn. They cut the cord, and they pretty much don't deal with the mother. I mean, unless there's complications, but usually if there's no complications, they don't do anything with the mother. All the focus goes on the baby. So that's like the minute of birth. And it doesn't stop there. It goes on forever. You know, when, it's kind of like, well, why a lot of, I would say, more men than women get a puppy, because when you bring a puppy outside on a leash, uh, all the women come, oh, can I see your puppy? Oh, I love your puppy, your puppy, puppy, puppy. And if it's a cute puppy, which usually don't people don't get ugly puppies. They try to find the cutest puppy, and they go places where people are, girls are and stuff, and try to, use the puppy to garnish a date. And it's the same with the kid, 'cause when you have a baby, everybody comes up, oh, can I see the baby? Oh, can I see the baby? And they like kind of push the mother away, like they do the man with the puppy. It's like the man with the puppy. The man isn't even there. All the focus and attention goes on the puppy, and it doesn't matter about the man, you know. And the same with the baby. It doesn't matter about the mother. They don't care about the mother. They don't want to dote over the mother. They want to dote over the baby, and you can understand that, and it doesn't stop. As the baby gets older. It's always, how's the baby? What's the baby doing? And what grade is the baby in? What grades did the baby get in school? You know, uh, what is the baby doing? It's always about the baby. It's never about the mother. You know, and uh, and when the mother runs into financial problems, she'll say, "Well, I have three babies. To maybe get a better job, get a little welfare or help from somebody. They'll use the babies as as leverage, and And people do that with their animals as well. I have a couple of cats. I need help. And cats don't work as well as dogs, but well, puppies. But once a puppy grows up, it becomes a dog, and it loses its value, which is why everybody wants to sell puppies and nobody wants to sell dogs. And the adult, the parent, is a dog. And it's not a puppy, and nobody cares about it. And all this is fine and dandy in a normal setting, in a normal situation. It's not a problem. And the parents don't hate the child. They love the child and they want to do everything they can for the child. But when you have narcissist parents, that does not play out in that way. It is hate, 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 hate. Jealousy, 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 jealousy. They are so jealous of that child. And that's why the firstborn is usually the scapegoat. They make it a problem child. Oh, he's not so good. He's got problems. Oh, he does this. He does that. They put the child down, and then they're trying to garnish support. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. You have such a bad child. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. He doesn't listen. And they're trying to garnish that kind of support, and it's really a toxic support. It's not a healthy support. It's not a true it's not a true support because usually the scapegoat is none of those things. They're not bad at all. Um, they just do things that the narcissist sees as bad, and that doesn't mean what he's doing is bad. It just means a sick person thinks what the child is doing is sick because they come from a sick point of view. It's like when you go to a funhouse mirror and in a at a festival and they have a funhouse mirror place, and you look in the mirror and it's distorted. Well, that's how the narcissist looks at the child. They see it through the funhouse mirror. They see a distorted child. They don't see the child that really is without the funhouse mirror. Um, like what you see when you look at the child, you see a perfectly normal everyday child, but they see a bad child, a distorted child, an evil child that needs to be fixed. And that's why a lot of the scapegoat children are put into therapy at very young ages. I went to a therapist, a psychiatrist. My mother had me go see at 11 years old, and had my stepfather go to the same psychiatrist. And she herself did not go to the psychiatrist, and she didn't need a psychiatrist because I was the one that was distorted in the mirror and not her. Meanwhile, she was the one that was distorting the mirror. And, you know, and like I say, like that distorted funhouse mirror, it'll never, ever, ever, I don't care what you do or how you do it, that distorted mirror will never be a normal two two-way mirror. It'll never be a normal mirror that you have in your bathroom. It'll never be that mirror. You'll never take that mirror home and put it in your bathroom and try to apply makeup on a funhouse mirror, because it would be all distorted. And the narcissist is that funhouse mirror because that's the way they see the world, and they'll never see it. You could talk to them till till you're out of breath, till you lose your voice, and you'll never change them. You'll never make them a normal mirror. And it's unfortunate, and we need to, as a society, we need to deal with this because they are damaging people. They are damaging children on a grand scale. And these distorted people become judges. They become people of power. Look at Trump. He's in a distorted mirror, and look where he is. And and I think that's why he is where he is, and why these people become positions of power because they look at the world differently. And people that are normal, they don't know that they're distorted. They don't know that they're a distorted mirror. They think they see the world the way they do, and they don't. They see it totally different. They see a bad child, evil child, and meanwhile they themselves are the bad and evil people. And it's not that they're evil; they're just sick. They're distorted, and it's just they need to be in a position of power because when a normal person looks at a narcissist, they don't necessarily come back with the word or the feeling that this is a narcissist. They come back with the feeling that this person sees the world a little differently than I do. They see a bad child, and you'll spend a little time with the scapegoated child, and be like, well, he's a very nice kid. He's very honest. He I don't see any problem with him, you know. But where the problem for the scapegoat is that anybody that goes in the presence of the scapegoated child, the narcissist first goes in and distorts the normal people's brain and tells them all the bad things that the scapegoated child does or did at home that they don't see, that they don't know about, and tells them all these crazy things that he does when he's in his room or when he's in the house. So when the normal person meets the scapegoat, they're, they have a distorted view, like the narcissist, when they look at the scapegoated child and they're like, oh yeah, I see it. Maybe he's a little bad. Maybe he does need a little help. And he doesn't. He doesn't need any help. The parent needs help, but it's really worthless help because you'll never, like I said, turn a distorted funhouse mirror into a regular two-way mirror that you put in your bathroom. And any work that you put towards doing that would be futile and useless. Uh, and the scapegoated child, like myself, uh, is not a bad person and goes through a horrible life. And some of them, a lot of them, like myself included, turn to drug addicts. They turn into drug addicts. They turn into being scapegoated by other people because once a scapegoat, always a scapegoat. And people that scapegoat people are attracted to them, and they scapegoat them themselves, not just the parents anymore. Now it's society itself has scapegoated them, and you find them in prison, you find them in psych wards, you find them on welfare, you know, and then they're hardly ever a CEO or a president of a company or president of the country, because they're scapegoated, and they use all that negativity and they carry all that negativity with them. Whether they say it or not, other people pick up on it, and they have a negative self image. They think of themselves as a negative person because they've been told all their life that they're a negative person, starting from birth with the parents hating them. And it just carries forward. And it's very hard to escape that. And that's what you need to go to therapy for, which I did. And I went for years and years and years. And it did help. It really helped. Uh, I've had several therapists, so don't get stuck on one therapist. And you should look for a therapist that specializes in narcissism and narcissistic abuse, um, if you have that problem. And You know, a lot of your alcoholics are narcissists, and that's why they're alcoholics, because they can't deal with life, and alcohol makes that distorted mirror more undistorted. But it's only temporary. When the alcohol wears off, the distorted mirror goes back to being distorted. You know, so that's why they like alcohol because it brings the distorted mirror back into focus. And they say they never felt better because they never felt normal. They only feel normal when they're drunk. because the alcohol is unwarping their warped mind, and they go from distorted to normal, sober up back to distorted. They need more alcohol to go back and get undistorted, you know. And of course, it's only temporary, and it's a bad analogy, but it works. But uh, you know, there are a lot of narcissists that are not alcoholics and don't ever drink, uh, but a lot of them do. And now with pot, I think pot has the same effect. When they get high, they feel normal, and they see the world in a normal way, which they need to be high in order to see it that way. Because when they're not high, they're looking at it like through a funhouse glass mirror, and it's distorted. Um, you know, but it's not easy growing up when your parents hate you, because you're so reliant on them, and you're reliant on financial support and emotional support and physical support, and you don't get any of that with the narcissist parent. You know, you're basically on your own. I've always said I raised myself, and if I didn't cook my own food, I learned how to cook food at like 11 years old. Um, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be alive. I had to cook my own food so I could eat. I'd never had food cooked for me, and if I did, it wasn't edible. My mother would just throw frozen chicken in the oven and take it out an hour later and hope it was done. And then you'd have to eat. And that was it. No seasoning, no nothing. Just frozen chicken turned into cooked chicken in an hour from an oven. And that was dinner. You know, she was a horrible cook. And that forced me to cook on my own. And I'm a good cook. I mean, I don't really cook extravagantly, but I can make a few meals. And what I make is good. Everybody would eat it and appreciate it. But what she makes, oh God. So, and that's not usual. Most people love their mother's cooking. You know, they go home for mother's cooking. I would never go home for mother's cooking. The last thing I ever do is ask my mother to cook for me. So, you know, it just tells you this distorted mirror. And that's the effect of the distorted mirror. And it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to undistort the mirror. Once it's bent, it's bent, and it always will be bent. And you know, just be aware of that, and don't beat up on people that are called scapegoats, or that you would yourself consider a scapegoat, because there's more to it than meets the eye, like the distorted mirror.